A couple weeks ago, we had Delaware Senate race Jessica Scarane versus Chris Coons, and we saw unfortunately, another Democrat, progressive Democrat, went down against a very corporate Democratic person. Man, what do you guys think about this defeat and loss?
But here we are again, right?
Yeah.
Established Democrat. You have a really good progressive candidate, big progressive dog. They know where to be found, right? AOC, Bernie, nobody, like, I didn't see that major endorsement. And I actually even donated to Jessica campaign. I really I went and read about her. I really thought she brought a lot to the table. But again, like, we sit here and it feels like we have this conversation every week in every election, right? Is you don't see any of these folks having endorsement and being able to be known on a national stage. So we constantly, that's another 6 years right there that are gone. And maybe, Bernie Sanders is super cool friends with Chris Coons. And, we know everything Chris Coons, it does, every major corporation donated to his campaign. We know what Delaware is, right? It's Biden hometown. It's the big banks. So I know, like, the race is going to be hard and stuff, but he raised like $5 million. She raised like $750,000.
Wow.
Like, how do you compete? But she didn't get national attention. And I really thought she was a really good candidate. And again, that goes back to the progressive movement. If we continue to say, yes, let's challenge, and we don't get the support from those folks that are on top, time we're going to see the exact same result, because we don't back a candidate. We are so afraid of the establishment and that they're going to hold it against us that we don't back any of our candidates.
I think that if the race doesn't seem like it's close enough, like if the margin is too big, it almost feels like some of the big names are afraid to back the progressive candidate, because if they lose, maybe there's going to take a little bit of shine off of their endorsement. It's like, to me, it seems like it might be like a fear factor.
So, Carlito, you brought up a great point. Should progressives care about that? Like, I'm going to throw that question out, and then I'm going to speak about what I think about that.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't, because, again, like, if the table were turned around, if the table were the other way around, the establishment will go behind their candidates.
Bernie shouldn't be afraid of losing. He's lost 2 elections now. Losing has done nothing to his political clout. Losing has only made people endear him more. This second time, he lost in kind of a wimpier way, I'll admit. But losing shouldn't be the reason. Losing shouldn't be the reason to compromise your morals. If you believe that this candidate could be good for the country, win or lose, let the people know that, hey, I like what this person is thinking. There's no reason to go against it.
But there's a difference of losing an election and the fear of losing your friends. Remember, because they're all friends. So that's the problem there. Like, we know these politicians, we go back in there, but they're all friends, right? So we don't know what relationship Chris Coons and Bernie Sanders may have. We don't know, again, and yes, we always talk about this, like, endorsement doesn't guarantee a win, but how are we supposed to push our progressive candidate forward if we don't give them the national stage, right? Like, we go always every week, I feel like a broken record. We go back to that Kentucky race. If they would have gotten early and supported Charles early, maybe we're looking at different outcomes.
On that point, John, I want to read something real quick from The Intercept that talked about this race. On your point, Mark Egerman, a longtime Democratic Party activist who worked on Harris, Delaware Senate 2018 primary campaign. So on the side, Carrie Harris, she ran as a Justice Democrat in the 2018 against the other senator of Delaware. Okay, so I'm going to continue the text now. Said that he understands the frustration over the lack of national attention and resources to the contest, calling the race a contest that ought to be a winnable primary. Egerman said a lack of sustained progressive energy and organizing between election cycles has left races like Scarane's the victim of a still developing movement. We have to find a way to sustain the energy, right? So here's a couple things that I wanted to say on this. Basically, the media does have a way of punishing people who endorse, and the people they endorse failed. They don't do it for the establishment, but if you're progressive, so I remember watching Kyle Kalinske was on a panel at Politicon, and he was like the only progressive on that panel. And they brought up to him that Justice Democrats endorsed a whole bunch of people back when they first got started back in the 2018 cycle.
We won 40 seats. They were in swing districts. In the primaries in those 40 seats, the candidates endorsed by Justice for Democrats in those seats overwhelmingly
That's not
lost.
even the name of the group.
What is it?
Justice Democrats, not Justice for Democrats.
Sorry about the name, but the numbers are right. Your candidates lost in the primaries. They did.
Okay,
That's the fact.
No, 41% of them actually won, and it wasn't just
I'm
one.
talking, no, in swing districts that we won. Name 5 candidates of yours in swing districts that won or not.
Do you know how many
They would use that as a pummel over their heads, like, oh, you guys are whack, or you guys are not going to succeed, and why are you even doing this, and da-da-da. So that's one reason why I think people don't give out their endorsement like candy. And also, I love the fact that John brought up that friendship aspect of it, right? And I totally agree with that. It's just human nature that once you go and meet somebody, they could be a total different ideology than you, but somehow that is a little nugging aspect of human nature where you want to be friends. And that's what happened to Bernie, right? But this is what I have to say about that. We need to have some kind of framework where we can get these endorsements and this energy that Mark Egerman, this Democratic Party activist that I just read, we need to find a way to organize so we can keep the energy going in between cycles, even when it's not a presidential race, to keep things going.
We're too fractured. I think that, you have brand new Congress, you have Justice Democrats, you have the Green Party over there, you have the Democratic Socialists of America, you have the Working Families Party, you have all these different segments now, the People's Party, which I believe we're backing full-throatedly, but I think endorsements shouldn't be that held to value. I think that what we need to come out with is a platform like the People's Gauntlet, how you've really pushed that, and just say, all they could ask you, that's your litmus test. You don't have to be backed by Bernie. Do you pass the People's Gauntlet? What is your platform that you support? I support the People's Gauntlet. Here's why. You can go see whatever. And then you automatically know that, oh, he supports Bernie's plan. And that means without saying it or not, Bernie endorses him because he supports Bernie's plan. Yeah. So it's like remove that extra step of why should they have to come out with their endorsement and then potentially lose, versus it's a lot easier to just blanket it and go, I am with them. You know how they did with Hillary, I'm with her. In this case, I'm with the progressive movement. I am here. I back each one of these policies, and I can speak to any one of them on demand. So I think we gotta stop the fracturing, stop the splitting, and find some kind of unity, and then also eliminate the need to endorse. So
Totally.
I don't think the need to endorse needs to be eliminated altogether. I think at the end of the day, it all just comes down to organization. Yeah. The Democrats, as much as we hate them, are a well-oiled machine when it comes to organizing. They're not good winners.
Against progressive.
No. They're not good winners. But when it comes down to it,
progressive. They don't organize anything against Republicans. Zero. Like, they are terrible at
they cooperate again with Republicans. If anything, good.
Yeah. My other point is that friendship. Sure, you can be best friends with Chris Coons, whatever. If I remember back in the day, Al Franken said his favorite person to eat lunch with was Lindsey Graham.
Oh my god!
That doesn't mean Al Franken would not support whoever was running up against Lindsey Graham, because at the end of the day, ideology and the fate of this country is more important than who you eat lunch with in the Senate break. There comes a point, there's a line that you need to cross where you make the decisions that benefit your country over what makes your buddies happy.
I would love to understand their endorsement process. I would love goes back in why they endorse certain candidates and why they don't endorse. I have, that's always been one of my biggest critics of AOC. Again, I don't know what was her thought process when it comes to endorsement, but I just always feel like she doesn't really endorse any progressive candidates outside of New York.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me jump in and give my commercial for the Progressive War Room, because this is a new show that I just started. We did our second show with Rosa Coraron, and she is the executive director for Future Generations PAC. And I have a clip of how she picks and endorses candidates for her progressive PAC. I'm going to be doing future shows, and everyone that has an organization, I'm going to ask how they endorse, because I'm very curious, because we're coming up and we're formulating the People's Gauntlet. I'm curious how other people come up with endorsement schemes and frameworks so that I can incorporate it, or we can see where the gaps are. Everybody in the comments below, please let me know, are there any books that talk about, and it's got to be like a tell-all from a former congressman or maybe an aide, like how does the inside of Washington work? Please put it. I would love to read that book, love to find out about it, and if you let me know, I'll report back and do a clip on it, because I'm sure it's very complex. AOC gave us a glimpse when she said one time, a speech, a panel that she was talking on, and she said there's a lot of mind tricks that goes on in Congress, and I totally believe her, but I'm really curious what that is. Does anybody know, even on the panel? Any of you guys ever heard of this? Like, what's how people like make deals? And I'm sure, like, so for example, I would say Nancy Pelosi, she probably threatened AOC with not getting a chairmanship, for example. And I'm just totally throwing this out. This is me making something up, but she has the power to put people on certain seats. And I'm sure that is one way, you know, that they can mess with people. So
I know one
go
way.
Ahead, Carl,
that's how John Boehner was handing out envelopes of cash in the floor of the House before. That's
always donor money. That's always a way to threaten people, to say, because we know like over 90% of the time, whoever raised the most money in a campaign wins that campaign. So donors always is one of the people that threaten and determines what goes on behind closed doors. So let me know in the comments below.